So, welcome YouTube. We're going to be doing a podcast series here, and this is going to be a long line of podcasts, but this one today is going to be exclusively themed on Resident Evil 7. So, this is going to be the first podcast we're doing, and today I'm going to be sat here with several close friends from the community, which is Shadow, Mentrix, Norgam Day. So, we're going to be going over the tapes, all the official content that has been released, but we're going to be keeping this from a little bit from the spoilers. We're going to go over the data mine content somewhat. We'll be quoting it if it's relevant somewhat, but we won't be talking about specifics. So if you haven't watched the spoilers, do not worry about that. And if you have read into the spoilers and the data mine content, you'll be able to understand the references we make, so you'll get the best of both worlds in this. So I want to say as well, I started off this channel, honestly guys, when I saw Resident Evil 7's trailer. I really started to put a lot of effort in there. Now, before that, I was just making GTA videos, and even before that, I have content 3 years ago where I was just uploading random clips. But when I saw Resident Evil 7's first trailer and the demo gameplay, I was completely blown away, to be honest. When I saw the first person view, I was like, oh, that's really interesting. It looks like they're doing the same thing they did when they made Resident Evil 4, which kind of shows that they're rebooting the series. And I was I was really impressed with Resident Evil 4, to be honest. I think everybody has that opinion, or mostly just the really extremist fans don't, the ones that just don't love the original trilogy and nothing else. But Resident Evil 5, it started to dip in quality. It was going a bit too much action-paced, there wasn't any retracing or fun stuff like that. And Resident Evil 6 was just horrible, in my opinion.
Terrible.
They just went full shit. They just went all shit into an actual action game. So when I saw the Resident Evil 7 trailer, I thought this is the same thing as Resident Evil 4. They're going back into the changing it up and rebooting it in a new way, but a way that's good, a way that just feels like it's something new and it's something that's good at the same time. And Resident Evil 7's first trailer, a lot of information was in there. You saw the ghost girl being dragged by Jack in the garden, and you were being dragged by your walls as well, your legs as well, sorry. And that was mysterious, what's going on here. And there was a lot of cryptic stuff thrown in there, like the tendril infection going up the paintings and stuff like that. And it was this is a really mysterious game once again. This one's throwing in the horror, but also with a big plot behind it, and it really feels like it's going to be immersive all the way through. And there's even before the game's out, there's going to be a lot of theorizing about it, and I thought that's what really excited me the most, because I love theorizing about it. So that's me anyway, and why I got into Resident Evil 7. So do you guys want to give an introduction as well?
Hello, I'm Norgam Deer, and thank you for having me here, Avid. And pretty much, yeah, my feelings on the Resident Evil series closely mirrors yours, in the sense that the previous Resident Evils, specifically 6, because I as well, actually I ended up losing interest in the series right around 5, mostly due to spreaded word of mouth, some of the mechanics of it, and around the time I just couldn't afford it. But people speaking about, the AI and how horrible it is, and how the game focused more on action, and it just left a sour note or sour taste in my mouth. And I really just couldn't get into it, and I did end up playing it a little bit in the past, as well as Resident Evil 6, but it just felt like it lost, some of the original draw that the first games had. And personally, my experience with the Resident Evil series, I actually started with the second game, but I ended up going back, playing the first as well. I still love Resident Evil 2, personally the most, but that's neither here nor there. But the feeling of this series was always, to me, about the survival of it, which, survival horror, but also the atmosphere was much better and less combat oriented. That's not to say there wasn't any. But this game, though, the atmosphere is very, very thick, and just the intrigue of it, and especially when I actually got my hands on the demo myself, it really pulled me in, and that's why I decided to, do all I could to join a community to, get into this particular game, because, it's fascinating, and I've actually made some good friends joining here. So that's at least my little story. So on to whoever else.
I'm Mentrix. My main, I'd say my Resident Evil experience kind of mirrors yours as well, but I would honestly say I've played it from the beginning, and I've played all of them, even including the crap ones like Resident Evil Survivor and shit like that. But I'd say, obviously, the main turning point was the Resident Evil 4, but obviously that's also when it took the shift from being stylized as a survival horror game into going into the action adventure style. It weren't survival horror anymore. But obviously when first playing and seeing anything to do with Resident Evil 4, that to me was like a very brave thing, what anyone can do for a series. And I thought it was a really, really good way of actually changing it up, and they did it brilliantly awesome. Think about it. How many Game of the Year awards did they get on the worst selling console, the Nintendo GameCube? So that to me is like a really, really massive achievement. And then it got ported to everything and its dog, which is even more, it is more of an interesting thing as well. Resident Evil 5 action movie, decent, good thing they tried it with the co-op, but you know, it did just become a parody of itself. And I would say Resident Evil 6 was terrible. I think if you can die so many times in the first like hour of a game and keep hearing train, that is the only thing what is going to seriously do your head in, to the point where you don't want to play the game anymore. And then seeing Resident Evil 7's first person, my initial thoughts were, all right, yeah, fair enough. They're trying something new. And then it was just a case of, yeah, serious immersive horror. You're going to have no other... It just seemed like the atmosphere and the house itself was the enemy, and your own fear was your enemy. And I just thought for them to be able to change up the series, completely remove the old cast and start from the beginning thinking, who are these rednecks? What the hell is this? How is this a Resident Evil? It's completely mental, and I'd say hats off to them, because not many companies will actually try and restylize a genre, and they've done it. They've done it already, and it was successful. Then they killed it, and now this is their time to do it again. So I think they've grown some massive balls by doing it, and I think it's hats off to them, and I'm really looking forward to playing the game. That's all I've got to say.
What do I say? Because you both pretty much said my thoughts the whole time. I relate to a lot Noel and Mentrix and Avid have discussed just now, especially like, I don't know, I consider Resident Evil 2 to be my gateway into the series. I used to watch my dad play it when I was about like 6 or 7 years old. And I remember being absolutely shit scared of Mr. X. I even had nightmares about him. And shortly after that, I got introduced to Resident Evil 4 by a family member. And I ended up getting the game myself on the PlayStation 2. And then from there, I was actually playing the games. And I went to Resident Evil 3 on the PC, and I gave the first game a try on, what did I play it on again? Actually, I did the thing where you port it on when you like jailbreak a PSP. I got the first Resident Evil on my PSP through that. I love doing that. It was funny. But I can never get Resident Evil 2 because the ISO file was never anywhere to be found on torrents and sites for some reason for me, which was shit because I always wanted to play it on there. But things kind of took a downfall for Resident Evil 5. I really appreciated the cooperative gameplay. Like, it made it a very fun game to play with my cousins. It was always a game we would do runs through like again and again and again and try and get all of the content done in this scenario. So I thought that was very fun. But on a narrative perspective, and in terms of work and stuff, it was a completely different game. very far removed from the series' original identity. But in saying that, I try and imagine myself being a young adult in the 90s and playing the first game and the second game and probably having a similar opinion on Resident Evil 3, because I feel like when you look on those three games, Resident Evil 3 did actually take that fixed camera angle mechanic to an action sort of standpoint, because it was about Raccoon City still and its destruction, but it was about, you know, this badass like tyrant nemesis chasing you down and explosions, and you know, it was still scary, but it definitely did what Resident Evil 5 was then doing to the over-the-shoulder camera angles, and then just took it to a whole different. It was so far removed when I got to Resident Evil 6 on a whole other level that I only played Sherry and Jake's campaign, and I was just done. So at that point, I didn't really know how to feel about the series. The amount of fonts that they use for, you know, different title cards, like why haven't they remained on just one? That kind of always bugged me. And, you know, I don't know, there's not really other things would bug me, like, you know, the faces of certain characters not being the same, like Jill in Revelations not being the same as Jill in 5 and Remake. Stuff like that would always just sort of bug me. Kind of like, a little bit off topic, but kind of like how to Looking Totally Ugly. It was that sort of same feeling over the years. And I just kind of like thought, you know what, I'm just going to probably give up on this series. And then, I don't know, the Resident Evil 7 demo and trailer hit E3, and I was pleasantly surprised. It was definitely another rebranding in a similar way to Resident Evil 4, but it went into a first-person perspective this time. And I was totally open to that. Some people instantly jumped onto this idea of Outlast and stuff like that, but people weren't catching on to the fact that you can use weapons on this game, although I don't think it was made very clear, because you literally got an axe in a demo, and they already really mentioned that in interviews at that point. So most of the general public thought that this was just going to be a copy of indie horror, and I can see why, but I definitely didn't believe that it would be. I thought that I kind of had a feeling where they were going with this. They were going literally back to the authentic mansion experience, just in first person, and also removing that sort of heroic character sort of vibe. You know, you're playing as a hero. That's what I really didn't like about Resident Evil 6 as well, the fact that you're playing as a hero pretty much that knows how to kick ass and has all these awesome moves and stuff, and I didn't feel like a survivor. I felt like someone that knew what they were doing, and, you know, I want to struggle. I want to, like, you know, I want to think, oh my god, what do I do? I want to feel conflicted. I want to feel conflicted in my decisions, what items to bring with me, and how I'm going to get around to an area, and how I'm going to manage my health supplies and my ammunition and things. So knowing that Resident Evil 7 is sort of going back to that sort of survival horror experience, just in first person, I completely don't mind. And it just be that nice experience to go through it in VR and, you know, feel like we're entering a new generation of gaming, and to see a AAA title actually, you know, try and really use this technology to its best potential. It'll just feel awesome to look back on and think, like, this was the game which really set an example of virtual reality mainstream games, and just like how Resident Evil 4 set an example of third-person games. So with my passion for the game, I was always looking for news, and I stumbled upon Avid's channel, and yeah, that's how I kind of ended up in here. So yeah.
I want to say a few things about this. First off, our origin stories are kind of similar, because I actually got into the first Resident Evil with my stepdad as well. Like, he played the game 95% of the time. You know, he had the controller. He'd give it to me for some minor sections from time to time here and there. But there's a lot of noise, Shadow.
Sorry.
Yeah. Now, I understand about the VR as well, what you mean there, because I do think the VR is really going to set this game up a lot more than people think. Like, I honestly think it's a little bit of a shame that not everyone is going to get to experience the game in VR the first time, because that first playthrough is so special and unique. And even if you go back and play the game in VR after you've played it without VR, it's not going to even be remotely the same. Like, I think it's such a shame, like I said. I think it is going to be one of the most terrifying horror experiences in like the last 10 years easily on VR. Like, I am not looking forward to half the freaking scenes we're going to have to go through in that game. They're just going to scare the absolute shit out of me.
I don't think anything in the next like 5 years after this will be able to top it. I don't think anyone's going to be able to get the immersive horror feel what they're actually projecting. You know what I mean? If you think about it, like the kitchen demo where people were trying to like sit through it, and within a minute they was having to pull the VR headset off because they were just diving in fear because of the sounds in their ears and they didn't want to open their eyes.
Oh, when that kitchen girl
crazy
appears on the camera above you.
Oh, it's creepy as sin. It makes your skin crawl.
I'm still yet to experience it.
Yeah, I won't be able to experience the VR either. You know, broke. But yeah, I personally wished I could, because I do agree with what Mentrix said in that it's going to be one of the absolute best cases of VR usage, if I'm not mistaken, that's ever been. Because most VR games currently are very, they're more like a, yeah, exactly. They're very basic, like simple things like, oh, look. Yes, exactly. They are literally just tech demos.
Tech demo.
And speaking of tech demos, I thought the demo I did enough sort of clarity on what kind of game I would be playing mechanically. Just being able to experience their new engine and seeing what kind of graphics it is capable of. It just really like sort of solved the game for me, because I don't know, I just really like the feeling. It feels great to play it. Moving around the atmosphere and stuff, it does feel genuinely real. And now having experienced the gunplay, getting to actually kill that the molded enemy in the new updated demo, it just knowing I'm going to be able to do that quite a lot. And feel
and
like
the shape gun mechanics and the feeling that obviously you're
awesome.
an amateur, you're not some superhuman dude, you're just going to be literally you're picking up a gun for the first time and plowing as many bullets into something before it dies.
Like, I genuinely was struggling every time, and getting a headshot felt good because it felt achieved, if you know what I mean. Like, it felt, oh yeah, I got that asshole, oh wait, he's not dying, this is still made. Yeah, exactly. I really appreciate it. And just, knowing that this is just a few rooms, we've got a whole mansion to explore, and it's going to have the bakers, the molded, and who knows whatever the hell cooking in that awesome engine back at Capcom Studios, whatever they've got making. I'm just really excited to see it. And that with all of the puzzle elements, the exploration, like, I'm just genuinely excited to actually just like read some documents or watch some tapes and just get to know the lore of what's going on, and really feel like I'm actually learning things for myself, and like, wow, this is what's going on here. And
Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 4 nostalgia.
Yeah, exactly. And it's going to feel great. Where was I going with this? Like, yeah, and VR, being in the headset and being in the perspective of Ethan and moving around and being able to actually, envision his perspective and be able to look through all of these like archived like footage and documents and really paint a picture of your own of what's going on, and just the horror of that, and knowing that every time you find something up new, it can foreshadow, like what Resident Evil's known for doing is foreshadowing. Like, for example, before you meet the Regenerator in Resident Evil 4, there's just this creepy-ass document you're reading on, like, what it is and stuff and how it came to exist, and suddenly you're getting your key card thing to get to the next place, and then you hear that metal canister drop or something as the Regenerator is woken up and he's on his way.
That's what nightmares are made of.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That creature literally just I couldn't deal with it. I paused. I'm probably gonna pause it so many times to be like, oh my god, what is going on right now?
Yeah, they
I want to go on to the topic about when the first trailer released with the demo and everything came out with the information there. Like, we had the house with the demo, and there wasn't too much in the first demo. I guess you're going to call it demo update, even though it wasn't a demo update, but the first demo section. Now,
Yeah.
there was also the trailer, and there was a lot. Honestly speaking, I think Tape 1 has a lot more information in it than.
Yeah, the Aunt Rhodey one.
Yeah, like a lot more information in it than what, like, you know, people might think. Like, there's a lot of photos of characters we haven't even seen reference. We've seen like the reflection. You remember in the mirror with the lightning with those the male and the female. Like, who are they? You saw the woman in the painting.
Wasn't
Yeah,
there
it
an
was
Easter
just
egg as well?
questions, weren't it? Everything
Yeah,
was a question.
And we haven't even seen references to those answers yet at all. Not even in like data mined leaks or anything like that. There's nothing like that's really mysterious, to be honest, about Tape 1. And then you got the song, which has a meaning to it as well.
Wasn't there like an Easter egg in the audio as well?
Sorry, what?
Yeah, there was like Easter eggs in the audio.
Yeah.
People literally pulled apart the audio, played it backwards, upside down, chopped it in about 30 different pieces, and yeah, there was very weird whispers and there was very strange stuff being said.
Was it like a little girl?
Oh god, yeah. Even listening to stuff was scary because it was just eerie because you're listening and then you're hearing something whispering in your ear. That makes your hairs on the back of your neck stand up.
too spoopy for me.
I wonder if there's going to be like crypticness, if that's a word, to that level. You know, that there's actually some stuff that you would have to go the extra mile for outside of the game to really uncover like some stuff. Like,
Well, I think on that topic, the song itself, just taken as a whole, has a whole lot of meaning. Like, it definitely seems to line up with some of the facts that we know of, like the being locked up and things with people who are locked away and other stuff. And like the entire song, like everybody being dead, you know, it all goes in with the theme of what seems to be going on in this exact specific chapter of Resident Evil. If you take the song, if you take the song at face value, that in itself definitely has meaning at least.
Yeah, and the fact that during the game you've got old woman who's singing it in a wheelchair, and when you approach, she stops singing. She's just creepy as fuck. Anyway, obviously everything in this game, what they're doing for a purpose.
Yeah, I agree. Like, it's all gonna make sense by the time you finished it, and it's hopefully, in hindsight, you would have seen what you've uncovered. Hopefully, a very groundbreaking story. I'm rooting for this game. Like, I know I'm being a bit of a fanboy here, and you know, it's sort of, you know, overhyping it, I guess. But I really want this game to do well. Like, I really want this to bring back the real magic of what Resident Evil is known for.
Horror.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got all my chips down on this. Seriously, I have literally got all of my chips down. I've took time off work ready. I've got a week off ready to play it and everything.
When I saw the first demo and trailer, though, like, I was pretty confused, you know, what was going on. I'm not gonna lie. Honestly speaking, there was so much crypticness and there was nothing really solid to go on. And the demo itself was really confusing because, you know, there's no, like, labs or anything. There's no references to any organizations or anything. Like, it doesn't seem like a terrorist outbreak or something like that. Like, what was actually going on? I didn't really see anything. I was really confused what was going on. And that was probably one of the things, honestly, that got me the most excited, that we just had no idea, and that really ring true with me, and I really appreciated that. But as the updates came out, we started to get more and more of the story that was going on. But just remember with how it was at trailer 1 before all of this information, try and like close your mind off from that. Like, what did you guys honestly think when it first came out? Because to me, my best bet was that it was some kind of terrorist outbreak, because there didn't seem to be any references, you know, to anything official or organizations like Umbrella. It didn't seem high tech or anything. So I honestly just thought it was a terrorist outbreak. That was my honest conclusion.
I thought it was a reboot.
Exactly. I thought the same thing as Mentrix. It felt so similar in so many ways to how the original Resident Evil would have felt. You know, like, granted, I didn't play the very first one first. I played Resident Evil 2 first. But that does not mean that I did not see, promotional material for Resident Evil and everything. And it literally felt like it was, this horror story of these people are in this mansion and there's zombies and they're going to eat your face and you're just trying to get out, survive, or figure out what the hell's going on. And this really did have a very similar vibe. Granted, it had, in a way, more of a kind of a Hills Have Eyes thing as well with it.
Yeah, I've seen that. I think I've seen that film. Isn't the second one where they're a group of soldiers?
Yeah.
Okay, I remember that film. Yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah, that was the general vibe. It wasn't trying to be like the more recent Resident Evils where they're all like, there's this terrorist organization.
And we're going to kill them.
To kill the world. They're going to blow up the world with zombies.
Haven't you guys noticed?
Get your guns ready, boys. We're going in. Lock and load.
I've noticed, the narration of the final trailer, the wife of Ethan, was meant to be dead and all that. Like, that voice is very similar to the narration at the beginning of Resident Evil 2. Like, very similar. And I think they're kind of going for that old school. I reckon what would be cool, right, is at the beginning of this game, we get the slow fading still images with that guy narrating at the very beginning and explaining
the subjects were apparently eaten.
Yeah, I
that old 90s Hollywood advertisement guy that was, for American ads, like, an inner world of mystery and apocalypse. Like, that deep voice. Like,
yeah, that dude.
Kind of cheesy, but for Resident Evil, it just works, you know what I mean?
Yeah, now it is true that in the tone of this new Resident Evil, unless people want to keep picking at how Jack Baker and them are rednecks, but that's neither here nor there. The overall tone does feel significantly less campy compared to the original Resident Evil, which was, God, the campiness was... You can slap somebody.
That door.
Yeah,
I think
can
the
slap
villains
somebody
are really
in the
good
face
at it.
with it. It's so hard. But but it does want to take a more serious tone overall with this one, which there's nothing really wrong with that because I do believe the art of campiness to a degree, especially in the horror genre, is more of a what's the word I'm looking for? It's more of a nostalgic kind of thing for older generations, because obviously in the 80s, campiness was very much a thing in horror. I mean, just look at like the Nightmare on Elm Street movies around that time and all of that. And
I get what you mean.
Yeah, and also some of the it's not Night of the Living Dead. It was the spin-offs of the series, they were like super, super campy.
Day of the Dead.
They were all, Day of the Dead, something like that. Like out in that graveyard, and then they're all like, "Man, I'm so bored. I wish I had something cool to do in this graveyard."
Brains.
Yes, that one.
I think.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about as well, dog.
Yeah, that was the vibe from the first Resident Evil, obviously with less, sexual references and smoking that dope. But, yeah, it was campy.
This hall is dangerous. There must be a back door somewhere. Let's try to find it first, shall we? Just a moment. I found something.
What is it?
It's a weapon. It's really powerful.
And nowadays, horror is taking a much more serious tone because...
Yeah, it's like they're not parodying themselves anymore. They're actually trying to take themselves seriously.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly acceptable because it's better engaging and, it's just more overall works for the suspense and the terror that it's supposed to bring. And that's what Resident Evil really has lacked in the past few years is horror. And now they want to go back to that.
Bring the horror back.
Of the series. Exactly.
A bit
There's
subtle,
gotta be-
not as in your face.
Yeah,
gotta be
that's
one
what
meme.
I'm talking about. That's the perfect way to say it, Ashley. It's subtle. It's subtle campiness.
Exactly.
I think the bakers are gonna they're gonna have one line which is gonna just be absolutely hilarious, and it's gonna.
Oh
like,
yeah,
become a
that's what I
meme.
mean. But the bakers in themselves are that parody. They're going to be the subtle parody with
Yeah.
the fact that the rednecks backward breaking a table. How am I going to replace this? That sort of shit.
That was such an
Exactly.
awful impression.
Yeah,
Accent
like
is gonna help a lot there.
yeah, because you could easily draw conclusions, like I said, to the bakers themselves with something similar to like The Hills Have Eyes, or more popular fit for that would be definitely Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The cannibal family with their weird, crazy son who likes to wear people's faces, but then the rest of them, y'all come back here. We need supper now, boys.
Yeah, you gotta eat your
With that
supper.
impression, Mentrix, I'm surprised you didn't do the voice for Jack.
Get some firewood for old Bessie.
Oh, wow.
I think
Guys-
Marguerite's
guys
gonna be
leave.
hilarious.
Can't
but-
wait for Jack to
Weird.
bust out a line about his old Betsy. I just can't wait for it. He's got to have a truck nearby. He has to. It's like totally in his stereotype.
I want to see I don't know, some funny there's gonna be some exploit on Marguerite and Jack's sex life somewhere. There's gonna be something
Oh, God.
hilarious going
Oh,
on.
that's what
Please,
nightmares
no.
are made of, actually.
Please no.
Infected sex. Oh god.
It'll be so funny. I
That's
don't know,
made my
it goes
skin
wrong or
crawl.
something.
That's the
I don't know. I don't know. I just imagine what if they walk into them or something and they just both go, "What the hell are you doing?"
Oh,
And
I do
start
not want to
chasing
walk
you.
in that on VR. Jesus Christ. It does
Unless
seem...
those behaviours come out in episodes where that's the most normal they'll feel, and maybe most of the time they're pretty docile and aren't really aware of what they're doing half the time, and maybe
Like
only
the Resident Evil 4 villages.
like the what?
Yeah,
Like the Resident Evil 4 villages, when they're not engaging you, you can sit and watch them and they're going about the normal
Yeah,
stuff.
they're just
like,
kind of staring. That.
Makes me
Now,
wonder
as
what
far
kind
as-
of interactions they'll do, when you've idled near them and you haven't got them in an alerted state. That's actually interesting. Will they have any interactions with each other? Will they have conversations or anything like that?
the one counterpoint I would like to
would
bring
be-
up to that would be, however, it's already been, believed that due to the second tape, you're obviously at the dinner table and then it's clear that you get away after that. So in my honest opinion, after that, they are going to not be, performing normal daily activities because they're trying to hunt you
They'll
down
be
because,
fucking finding you.
yeah, they're going to be looking for you because, that dumb son bitch didn't eat his supper. We're going to get him now. And yeah, you're not going to, well,
Are you a
channeling-
voice actor in Resident Evil 7?
Are you Jack Baker?
That's not
You
a
know
here
what, I
nor
would be
there,
sur-
boy.
It would be cool if there's someone in this community low key actually part of the game and they just went in there.
Pretends
It'd
to
be
be a
such a
poor
twist.
hick. He pretends to be a poor hick and he's sat in a high-rise apartment in an executive office.
Yeah, really.
We know you, Nog. We know it's you.
I think it's Mentrix. I think Mentrix plays as Jack.
I'm trying to throw the scent
that.
off.
And redirecting.
Yeah, but overall, yeah, that's my theory on it is you're not going to throughout, at least after the dinner scene, see anything of them being like their normal, docile, what the fuck are we going to do today? Because there's no one to, turn into a molded or whatever, or, force feed them and eat them or something, whatever they do.
Yeah, but it does seem like there's going to
Kill
be a
it,
stealth
fuck it.
mechanic with the crouching and stuff. That seems like it's going to be used in the game, and also the wall
Oh,
peeking.
of course.
I just
Yeah,
wonder,
there's going to be stealth.
Yeah, there's going to be some interactions while they're idle. I'm just curious if, will they talk to each other at all? Will they phone each other? Or, is there anything unique going to be in the game like that?
Now, I would say that, they would communicate with each other, but, you found him yet? No, I ain't seen shit. Yeah, you might
Fix
hear
that
something
scene,
like that.
bitch.
I really want to see I don't know. I don't know when they got infected or anything, but tape footage of before they were infected. But maybe one of them was filming a family video or something, and like things were actually like okay, or maybe they weren't actually ever like a nice couple. Maybe they were always violent or something, or maybe they were actually just really nice and like a nice family. But
It'd be interesting to see.
Actually, I do see Jack Baker as a wife beater. I mean, look
He
at tape
definitely
2.
is. He's a
Tape
stellar
2, he's
drinking
like,
wife beater.
gives up the backhand. Shut the hell up, Marguerite. You know.
oh my god, that sounds so like
You're fucking Jack Baker, seriously.
yeah,
Man,
you're
it's like
fucking Jack.
probably half his lines he's throwing out is leaked dialogue. He's gonna get like hit by Capcom. He's gonna get big guns.
Unless he did it.
I am not Jack Baker Capcom.
Did she not sign an NDA? Nor
God damn
Come on,
it.
give us
Now
some more
everyone
dialogue, Jack.
knows.
Give us some.
And yet, here's Mentrix when he laughs naturally sounds like Jack's laugh.
That's true.
you
That's
know
true.
what? I'm gonna be playing this entire game now. Thinking either Nor or Mentrix fucking voice this guy now. That's gonna be like, great performance, guys. Great performance.
Welcome to the family, son.
Oh, you don't want me to say that line.
Let's hear it.
Welcome to the family, son.
Oh my god!
Oh, man, it's you.
It's you. I reckon it is.
We got confirmation. You've been found out, Nog.
Y'all started this.
Oh my god! It's actually uncanny. It's genuinely like sending chills.
Oh, man, it's actually really, really brilliant.
I'm genuinely questioning whether or not we're with the voice. Fucking Jack
I don't know
Baker
about
right
you
now.
all, but I'm having a great time now.
Man, you should just go apply to be
I'm
a
really
voice actor, Nog. You got the skills right there.
You've got that.
Oh, I know. I've been told this many times.
You should
It's
go
just-
apply to like some cheap rip-off of Resident Evil 7. Just like do an indie rip-off of it for like $2. You can be the Jack Baker, perfect. You'll make millions.
Or I don't know, you could literally do a modded DLC and just.
I probably
Jack for
could,
people.
yeah.
Yeah, go for it. Advertise yourself, put yourself out there. We've inspired you.
Who
now.
knows,
Take on
maybe
a
after
bet.
this video I'll get these random messages.
Oh my god. Maybe I'll go viral. Someone will take a cut of it and it's just like, oh my god.
Welcome to the
Jack.
family, son. I do definitely think, by the way, there's going to be VHS tapes of the Bakers lit around all the chapters. Like, it's not going to be, spread into one chapter specifically. I think over the chapters, you're slowly going to see a transition from before the infection to after it. Like, if they missed out on that opportunity, it would be such a tragedy, to be honest. And if you did get to see that, and that is in the full game, it'll be beautiful, slowly seeing the descent into madness. Like, there were definitely a dysfunctional family before the infection. I think everybody gets that implication from where they live and how they act, but, you're still going to see them go from that to crazy-ass madness where they're killing people, and that'd be lovely and beautiful. For the artistic horror as well, it would add to the atmosphere so much and the immersion in the game.
Yeah, I personally do believe that with the Baker family, as far as their past, before they obviously become the infected hosts of this crazy virus, it could end up going along the route of how Resident Evil 4 handled it. Like throughout the whole game, the Ganado, or they were Ganado, weren't they? Yeah. Like you see in the game, sometimes where they are normal, but it was at the very end of the game when you saw those still pictures. Hopefully it won't be still pictures. It'll be more like VHS, like we said, of their former life, when they were normal, whether they were, the good family or whatever, which I highly doubt, or the more likely, Jack Baker was just this vicious bastard, really, and Marguerite was his abused wife, and Lucas was the troubled child, and all of this stuff.
Yeah, going back to Lucas, I think that he's a lot smarter than he lets on. I think that guy right there, he's going to be the mastermind behind everything.
There's going to be one big twist.
I think he's got a larger role in it than everybody thinks, a lot larger of a role. He definitely plays a centerpiece in the entire thing, and he's a lot smarter.
I think he's got a lot to
Mainly
do with...
because there's nothing really said about him. You see him a few times, but a lot of the heavy content against Marguerite and Jack, even Little Girl and Psycho, Stabby Girl, Basically, you see nothing about Lucas.
It's the same thing with the grandma as well. Like, I think she's a big character as well. She's gonna have some heavy plot implications. She's gonna be a massive ringleader as well behind it all.
Out of all the, I guess, family members or the main characters that we've encountered throughout all the material that's been released, I think Kitchen Girl's going to definitely be the scariest person for me, personally.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Squealing.
like when I played the demo, and then you have that clip from Kitchen at the end, and she gets, it freezes on her face, and then like a bit of her scream, like, you know, gets through all distorted after. Like, genuinely sends me chills after every time. I actually hate it.
Yeah, can you imagine experiencing that in VR? Jesus.
Oh, don't. I'm thinking I'm gonna get VR, to be honest, for this. I mean, like, I've worked my ass off so much for Christmas, and like, I think I'm gonna spend all that on VR. So
when it comes to gaming, I honestly think VR is one of the best purchases you can make. Like, if you're thinking, you know, should I get a 4K TV? Should I get like this 600 freaking pound gaming monitor that's 4K with low input delay? Should I get some new PS4 console with the, you know, the what is it, the PlayStation 4S? You're
just slugging off all of my purchases over the past year, man. Quit it.
No, when you're thinking about when you're thinking about that, VR is honestly the best one you can make. Those are all great purchases, but VR is the one. It will change the way you see gaming, literally. That is something you'll only understand when you experience.
yeah,
I can
indeed. I agree.
I can respect that. It's other than Resident Evil 7, though, as we touched upon earlier, it's still going to take time for VR to really get in its stride, due to the fact that Resident Evil 7 is really the only one that's, really capitalizing on the power of VR. Everything else is just these silly tech demos like, oh, look, I'm going to be able in this VR to pick up this coffee mug off this table in virtual reality.
Scripted VR bullshit.
They all help, though. They all help, like, really inspire these big AAA companies to really, like, make these. Well, this is the first one, obviously. I think it's going to pick up on all of these things that these indie developers have learned, and all these technical demos and that.
It's going to definitely help.
Even Capcom were experimenting.
Snowball the industry, basically.
Because the purpose of Kitchen was an experiment with VR. I'm pretty sure that when they were making Resident Evil 7, VR was like probably a decision made midway through production. Like, okay, let's think about VR.
They pretty much said that they wanted to do an immersive VR experience, and they built Resident Evil 7 on the back of Kitchen. But even if you look at Kitchen, the T in Kitchen is disjointed 7, so that was their clue to say straight away that it was going to be Resident Evil 7 if you go back and look at it. But if you want to take a quick look at the T in Kitchen. It's basically like a disjointed 7, and that's what they did it for. And they wanted to build Resident Evil 7.
If you get rid of that like bit off the right at the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's like a 7. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
A little sneaky thing there. I don't know. I'm actually looking forward. I hope that they use the same engine for the Resident Evil 2 remake, to be fair.
Yeah, it's interesting. And it's a fact is that they've done this from the ground up, and they've started it from the beginning, just to think, we're going to... But, even when you look at all these people who were saying, oh, yeah, well, they've just done exactly what Silent Hills was going to do. They've ripped off PT. But if you actually look, Resident Evil 7 was in production before PT. So that's a massive fuck you to all of them idiots.
All these horror series borrow little things from each other anyway, like Dead Space. It was completely influenced on a perspective. The perspective was influenced by Resident Evil 4. And even Silent Hill, was it Origins, the one on the PSP? That was actually going to
that's Origins.
That was going to actually adopt the Resident Evil 4 over-the-shoulder angle in early, in alpha or beta or whatever. I think it was an alpha stage or something. It was going to use that. So it's nothing new. Like they're always taking these ideas.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I guess
Origins took balls.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll save that for another day.
I don't know. I hope that whatever they do, then, like with this game, it takes from all these, like, whatever it's taken from, influence-wise. Like, there's obviously some Chainsaw Massacre in there and some Hills Have Eyes, and I guess some story from Silent Hill 2, going to find my long-lost wife, all this stuff.
Yeah.
But I think an original story will surface from all of these things that have come together, because obviously Silent Hill didn't have a chainsaw family, did it? No, it didn't. And Hills Have Eyes isn't about finding, a long lost wife. It's that you putting different things together and then making new original things. You know what I mean? It's like different. It's like
it's like a massive homage to the things what people loved. And then they thought, I'll make a game out of it.
I guess, what could have resulted from? Like, what influences do you reckon went into that game?
Say that again, sorry, you cut out, mate.
What influences do you reckon went into Resident Evil 4?
Resident Evil 4?
Yeah, because that was obviously a very change in style, set in year up and things like that.
I think what went into it was they was possibly
3 different rewrites and rehashes of a game, 2 director changes, and a partridge in a pear tree.
That was actually. Yeah. But I don't know. To get back on with Resident Evil 4, I think what they were trying to do is still capitalize on maybe the formula. Obviously survival horror games back in the day were heavy on tank control. And, tank controls are kind of some people just hate them for some reason, even though they make sense for the camera angles and everything like that was used.
Yeah, I love the tank controls, I'm not going to lie.
So, just to get a bit back on topic, by the way, here, guys, because I want to try and keep this centralized to Resident Evil 7 if possible. But, when we saw the first VHS tape in the demo, and I was the one that, I wasn't the one, that sounds so fucking egotistical. I was one of those people that thought this is probably going to be in the main game, the VHS tapes themselves. This isn't like something demo exclusive just for like a little tech demo or just something interesting to show. This is something they like implemented the proper mechanics for to like put in the full game and then show. And then I was still a little uncertain though, I'm never like one of those people that's like, 100%, man. I'm always like, alright, there might be room to change that opinion, and if more information comes along, I will. And then the Lantern trailer came out, and that is basically a VHS trailer. It like starts off with a VHS and all that stuff. So that kind of reinforced the idea that VHS tapes were going to be in the game. And what I thought about this was VHS tapes, right? They're like an alternate way of doing documents in a game, or say audio logs in BioShock, or you got the video logs in Dead Space, for example. Every game has like their own little different way of doing this. But when you're talking about Resident Evil 7 and you've got the house that's not really high tech, like look at Dead Space. You've got that like hologram system on your suit, it makes sense in the lore that you get video hologram log things. In BioShock,
that is awesome, by the way.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, in BioShock you've got the audio logs with the little tapes, and that's awesome as well. But in Resident Evil 7, you need to be able to get another character's perspective, like a bit of lore about something else, through in an immersive way that doesn't. It doesn't really break your immersion, and it has to work for VR users as well. And I think the VHS system, that is a really great way to just spin it off. I actually thought that was a beautiful articulation that they'd done there, like a really good way of crafting a little side story within the story that you can explore.
Yeah, definitely, because obviously it takes away from stopping and reading documents, how they used to like push stuff forward in the game. It's like stop, read a document, find something. Find a passcode, do something like that. But no, it's like eventually, it's like, using the VHS tape, dilapidated buildings, shitty old school TVs, run down VHS recorders, VHS tapes, fuck it. That's the best way of doing it. That's the best way of driving the story. And from seeing the first thing, I thought, if they don't put this in the main game, it'll be a fucking crime.
It will, because everything about this is very innovative storytelling. I mean, like you pointed out before about, the whole, just reading notes, and some people are like, I ain't got time to read this shit. Whereas when you make it an interactive experience and part of the game, like you could even make it to where, say certain sections of the house are open in the VHS and you see the cause of it breaking down, or, environmental changes, stuff like that. It creates an interesting narrative, and also gives you a drive to be all like, I wonder if I can still get into this section after this happened.
It seems like if you look at the demo, when you get the lockpick in the VHS section, and then you can use it to unlock the drawer, and when you go out the VHS section and you go back into the real world, you can unlock that drawer and you get the axe, right? So it looks like some of the VHS tapes might allow you to solve the puzzles or explore the environment, like you said. And to expand on that, Nog, you might get context clues when you're looking at the environment in a VHS section on how to get to the next area and how to progress through a puzzle. You might see like somebody in the VHS tape do the puzzle, and then you're like, oh, so that's how you do it, and you go back into the real world and do it.
Exactly.
But a piece is missing, then you've got to go and find it.
Yeah, it's not just a means of it's just not just a means of narrative, but also a mechanic, and also adds to story, puzzle elements. To be honest, that was probably the one thing myself I was a little bit apprehensive about, in concern with the plot, or the fact that it was in a Resident Evil, because Resident Evils, despite the oddities, like mutants, monsters, fucking, zombies, of course, supernatural occurrences were never a thing. And, they were always grounded in science in some way, even though it's pseudoscience, but that's irrelevant. But now that we all understand some things that have come to light with, mentions, I can accept it better. But that's what bothered me a little bit at first about the ghost sightings. I mean, they're a neat idea, but it was the one thing that didn't feel very Resident Evil to me, but it felt more Silent Hill-like. But, with the newer information that was released, I can understand it and deal with it better.
Or maybe it was LSD'd off your tits.
That's possible.
But I do think there's supernatural elements throughout the whole game.
Yeah, I think it would be, mental projection from psychokinesis girl or whatever. It seems like there's going to be something, but my initial thoughts when I first saw it and didn't know anything, I thought, man, they've rebooted the shit out of this series. That's what I was originally thinking, man, they've gone down the supernatural route. What is it? Brand new viruses where it turns people into spirits and they go all crazy, like all fatal frame bullshit. That's what I kind of thought it was going down, but then obviously it changed.
That's actually a good idea, to be honest, with the... I can see where you got that assumption, with it being some kind of spirit projection, like Fatal Frame. Because the way she appears, she just appears. She's not moving. There's no limb or physical movement from her. And then she just disappears, like, in almost like a split second. She's there, and then she's gone. And the other thing is that you had the camera as well equipped, which is why it was interesting, because it looked like... if you think about it in this way, it looked like Pete didn't actually see.
You could only see it through the actual camera.
Exactly.
That's why that's what gave me the Fatal Frame breakdown feelings. I did mention it in earlier comments in like other people's channels, but then I realised that your stuff was better, so I just kind of like got rid of them. But the less said about that, the better.
Yeah, I can understand where you were coming from, though. Definitely, that would have, like, based on what you only knew back then, like, because I can cut, you know, all the content I know, and I can kind of try to think about it back then. Like, you only had a little bit of information, and I can definitely see why you thought it based on his reaction and stuff. That makes a lot of sense. I probably, if you would have explained that to me honestly back in the day, I probably would have given that a lot of thought myself. But anyway, guys, we're gonna have to cut it out soon here because Shadow has to go. But it has been an awesome session here for this one.
Sorry.
It's alright.
Betty!
It's been a learning curve.
At least we got a podcast done, right?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Evil in next time, hopefully.
Definitely. So this is our message to you, Evil. You better be in here
Get your
next
ass
time.
in here, boy.
Welcome to the family, son.
Your absence is very much needed.
Yeah, honestly.
How am I
Evil,
gonna replace him?
Not again.
Oh Lord.
No, you are, Jack. I'm confirming it right here.
Ah, damn it!
Yeah, this
Oh my
podcast
God.
this
There we go.
podcast is sponsored by Jack Baker himself, so enjoy that. Like, we got all the good shit in here. We got all the infection. We got molded sponsored. It's like the best thing you can get.
we got Jack voice actor confirmed before it was even confirmed. So yeah, like I don't know.
Ah, man, this has been a good podcast, though, guys. I hope you've all enjoyed watching this, honestly. And I think we'll definitely do a lot more of these. Like, I've loved this, guys, personally. I think you guys probably appreciated it, too. It looks like you got some good reactions here.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can get some good thoughts and
Thank
can
you
go
for
off on some
having
crazy
us.
tangent.
Oh, man, I hope we do this more and more. I'd love to make this a common thing. I really, really would.
Oh,
Indeed,
definitely.
It's been amazing. I enjoyed this so much.
Emotions, all the feels. It's been emotional.
All the feels.
For
Too
anyone,
much.
for anyone that's watching, next time we'll try to get more people in the community involved, even people in the comments and stuff, so we can get some questions asked and we'll go through it and discuss it here. But for now, anyway, guys, I hope you've all enjoyed and loved watching this. So take it easy and peace.